Hello friends, I'm coming to you from my very messy table, and I wanted to apologize for being a little absent, a little behind on things this week because we bought a house. If you've been following this channel for a while, we have been hoping to move to Baltimore for over a year, almost 2 years at this point, and it's been quite a journey. We've been selling a bunch of stuff that we own to pull together the money for the move and the down payment and, you know, all those associated expenses. I've been working really hard on it, and I was really planning to get serious about it around the end of summer. But the other day I've been watching the real estate market all this time there, trying to really get a feel for like what we can afford, what types of houses are available. And if you've ever bought a house, I don't know if you've had this experience, but this will be my third house, which please let this be the last house. Please. If you've ever bought a house, like how it's always worked for me is that when I'm ready to buy a house, there's always this certain house that will come up and it'll just be like, that's it. That's my new house. Like I can just feel it, you know? Of course, there's practical considerations that lead to this decision. And some months ago, I sat down and I made a list of all the things that we needed in a house and wanted in a house. And because my partner has a disability, he has arthritis, so he has really bad knees and long legs. He's not in a wheelchair or anything, but like he can't like do a lot of stairs. And also because of his long legs, like the proportions of a house kind of matter. Like he can't do like a toilet that's wedged into like a tiny little like closet because his legs aren't gonna fit in there. And in a lot of these older homes, you know, they're just not built for like people with really long legs, and they also tend to have a lot of stairs. Like a lot of the houses in Baltimore are very, well, for one thing, we have a lot of row houses that are very vertical. And then there's also like the single family homes often are set kind of high up off the ground, and they might be like 5 or 6 steps just to get into the house from the street or the driveway. And then you'll get in and all the bedrooms are on the second floor, and the basement has like weird little janky stairs to get down there. So a lot of times, like while other people get to make lists of things they actually want in a house, we have to buy a house based mainly on accessibility and often put a lot of money into making a house accessible before we even get to think about things we would want to do to the house, which is a real drag and is a real like hidden cost of having certain disabilities. Is, you know, nobody helps you with this stuff. Nobody helps you with how expensive it can be just to modify a house for your needs. So when we bought this house, like we had to spend a lot of money just moving the stairs. We had to take out the stairs and move them to a completely different spot and rebuild them. That was a lot of money, but there was just no way. And this house was in all other respects really good for us. So I was looking at this house that popped up, and it had a lot of living space on the main floor, and it was not set very high off the ground. So I was looking at this house and it was very accessible. But when I looked at my list of needs and wants, it also had nearly all of our wants and not just needs. So, you know, I wasn't really ready to move on this right now. And at first I was like, oh gosh, it's already at the top of our budget and I'm not ready. But hours went by. I kind of told my realtor, like, I'm kind of interested in this house. Like if it sits on the market at all, you know, I might want to know about it. Don't worry about it yet. But we both kept thinking about it so much. And I got this feeling like, you know, this house, it's priced really well though. Like it's going to move. I actually think it's going to move really fast. And I've been watching this market for almost 2 years, and I have not seen any house that would be anywhere near as good for us as this house. So then I contact my realtor again, like, okay, no, actually we're really interested in this house. So he's like, okay, great. I'll go take a look at it. We can do a video tour. So This realtor, I hired him because he was a friend of a friend, and the friend and her husband also went with him. They all went, took some videos, video tour, showed me the house, gave me kind of like the feeling of the vibes of the neighborhood. It was all sounding good, and I was like, okay, you know what? I am interested in it. I think I want to make an offer, but like, can I sleep on it? He's like, that sounds like a good idea. I'll check with the listing agent. So he comes back and he's like, okay, there's another offer on the house and it's a really strong offer. It's above asking. So you need to come in with your best number. And I was like, oh shit. So I must say I've been being very conservative with the budget because for the first time in my life, basically since my father-in-law died especially, and we got a little bit of inheritance from him, as well as inheriting all his stuff that I've been selling on eBay for a couple years, and then we started selling all of our stuff on eBay. And that level of financial freedom, which I don't really foresee coming again, maybe ever, certainly not anytime soon, unless like my parents died in a car accident or something horrible happened, because my parents are pretty young and healthy. My grandparents still seem like they could be around for 10 more years. I don't know that the YouTube channel is ever going to be like making bank like my indie right to market career did. I mean, it could, but I'm certainly not like betting on that in my future. So I don't know if I'm ever going to have this level of financial stability again. I was being very conservative with my budget because I just didn't want to give that up. Most of my life I have been pretty poor, not like truly impoverished, like in debt or electricity shut off or anything. Like I know there's a lot more level of poverty I could reach, but just like no frills, no spending money, tight budget, not a lot of cushion, just kind of enough. And it's been so nice to get to a point where I feel like I can handle things that life throws at me, and I really feeling like I have the freedom to do the kind of creative work that really calls to me because I have some buffer if it's not making a ton of money. I really didn't want to give that up, and I still don't want to give that up. But I do realize that we want to move, but it also it's a necessity because Dade's doctor left and moved to Tennessee, and he doesn't really have good medical care at all. So he really needs to leave and be in a bigger city. And while it's not as pressing for me, I have my own more longer term issues with staying here. Like North Carolina's health insurance has gone up to $700 a month, which is just like very untenable. Whereas in Maryland, it's still like $300 a month. And I've struggled to make friends here, and I never got a driver's license. I really need to either learn to drive or move to an area where I don't need to drive. And that's not going to happen here because we live on a very terrifying road that has no guardrail and is barely 2 lanes and just drops off into a precipice of death. I am not going to be learning to drive on this street. I can't even look at this street when we're passing what I call Dead Man's Curve. So, like, in the long term, as I get older, I got to think about these things. I need to move to a neighborhood where, like, I can get to some things without it being overly intimidated and kind of get used to driving because I'm a very nervous driver. And, of course, being in a city also gives you a little more flexibility as far as if you can't drive, you're not completely screwed. Like, I mean, maybe you can get an Uber out here, but that's about it. You probably get an expensive Uber. There's definitely no public transit. There's not a lot of stuff in walking distance, etc. So because of transportation issues, healthcare, and just a lot of my friends are still up in the Northeast corridor, I just kind of feel like in the long term, I really need to get up there. And like, I'm in my 40s now. I'm still pretty much young and healthy, but I don't want to wait until I'm old to kind of find like a place that I can take care of myself when I'm alone. So all that's been on my mind. And anyway, this video is very rambling, but my sister Kate was in town and I was telling her how I'm like really nervous about going over on the budget because I really want to be careful. I really don't want to lose my financial security. And the thing is, we have to buy the house before we sell this house. So like it all kind of hinges on what this house is going to sell for and how quickly, which is an unknown. I can't make somebody buy my house, so that's like terrifying. And you can look at market trends and think like this house is probably going to sell. Like the market between here and Baltimore are pretty similar actually, like price wise. Like it's probably the houses are probably actually a little more expensive here than in Baltimore, but Baltimore is a little more of a competitive market. So in that regard, it probably evens out somewhat. Like this house might take a little longer to sell, but it also might sell for a little more. So like in theory, it should be fine. But when you're actually committing to that kind of thing, it's really scary. So I was telling my sister, and she's like, well, yeah, I was really cautious. And then COVID hit and prices went nuts. And now she's still stuck in like a 1-bedroom apartment, even though she had enough money to buy a house before COVID. And if I had dithered on buying a house before COVID, I wouldn't be able to afford anything if I was only now entering the market. It's ridiculous. So I was like, yeah, you're right. There is risk in being too cautious as well, especially when you do have to move for like very, like, even if our money is tight when we move, that would still be better in the long run than getting stuck here. And Dade not even having like a doctor who treats his conditions and stuff like that. So the next morning I told the realtor, like I kind of got this number in mind, like, all right, this is the number that if it goes over that, then I will at least be at peace with the fact that I think that person overpaid for the house. So I told him my number for the house and he wrote up the offer, we submitted the offer, and then I waited and like many hours passed by. Now, when we made up the offer, he asked me, like, he was like, I think this is going to be really competitive because there's another offer coming in as well. So now we're going to have 3 of us competing for this house. He said, since you do have a lot of cash reserves, would you be able to cover an appraisal clause where if the appraisal comes in lower than the sales price, you could cover that in cash rather than the seller having to come down? And I was like, yeah, in the long run, it might be a little dicey in the immediate moment, but whenever our house sells, we could replenish that amount. Like it'll still be there in the equity of the house. And we talked about it and decided that, yeah, we will do that because if things really get crazy, we have a few larger collectibles and stuff we can sell. So like we'll figure it out. It might not be fun, but at least we'll have the house that we wanted and we'll figure it out. So I said, yes, let's put that clause in there. And all 3 offers came in, and my realtor texted me and said, like, okay, all 3 offers were the same number. They chose yours because of this appraisal clause. So this all happened in 48 hours from the house hitting the market to like, we own this house or like, we're going to own this house. Assuming nothing goes awry, which it still could, but at least we made it past that part of it. So I didn't, the thing about a competitive housing market, I know probably those of you who have bought houses in recent years, a lot of the markets were very competitive, especially around the COVID era and like since then. So I know a lot of people that bought houses in this very competitive real estate market. And I had never experienced this before, like having to make huge, potentially life-changing decisions about your finances and having to weigh like giving up your cash reserves versus having the house that you really want and not knowing if that is ever gonna come along again. Like this might be our only chance to have a house that has everything we really want. And it's not like our wants are super indulgent. Like, one of my wants was to have a kitchen that has a decent amount of counter space. And, I've had a little galley kitchen with like almost no counter before, so I know like I can make it work, but I do cook a lot, and going back to like my first kitchen would really suck. It would definitely be like a daily quality of life thing to not have counter space. So, I'm flexible about that kind of thing. I'm realistic about my finances in my life, and like I'm not going to get everything I want. So if I had to go back to just a little tiny kitchen, I could make it work. I was prepared for that. But when you see a house that has those things, it does have the kitchen with the counter space, then, you know, that stuff matters. It also has like a really great room for like where I can have permanent like YouTube filming space, have like just my permanent kind of like backdrop and like a place to keep the camera, tripod and stuff set up permanently all the time. Whereas right now I have to, like right now I put the tripod on my bed. So every time I want to film YouTube, I have to kind of get all that arranged. I have to bring up a thing to set the camera on and get it repositioned. And it's, you know, it's not a big deal to not have that, but it certainly is going to be awesome to have that kind of spot to film. So there's a lot of things I'm just like really excited about as far as quality of life stuff. And now it's been several days since all this happened, and I'm still feeling really good about our decision, and that it was, however it shakes out in the long run, we've got the house and it's going to be a really good space for us. But oh my gosh, I'm so anxious. Like that all happened so quickly, and I'm like not quite really ready to move yet, but I'm gonna just have to be ready. So as far as the channel goes, I'm gonna try to keep up with making some kind of videos this month. I don't want to lose like the algorithm, you know? Like it's better to put out something, anything, than drop off on YouTube. And I also, those of you who are members and who are paying to support me, I really value that. I don't want to leave you in a lurch for very long. So I'm really going to try to put out some kind of something for members and also just for the public channel. But it might be a little, like I might just save the suggestions for the June video for late, like when I get a little more settled, and just kind of do like whatever I want to do. I may just pick a video off the list that feels like, okay, I can talk about that without having to think too hard. Or you might get like a random vlog or something. I don't know. I'm not quite sure what it's going to look like around here for the next 2 months, because I'm kind of just like hanging on for dear life here. But I'm not going to be gone. I am trying to keep up with stuff. Just like realistically, some stretches of days are probably going to be so busy that there's just no way. But I'm also very excited. I'm glad that we're finally, you know, in some ways I'm just glad that we're getting it over with, because it's been kind of hanging over my head, this move, for so long. And there's a real mix of happiness and grief and dread, because it's such a big change. It's really hard to move. It's very stressful. There's a lot of people and things here I'm going to miss a lot. There's a lot of good things waiting for me there too. A lot of friends that are going to be happy to see me, and a lot of stuff to do, and it's going to be good. But it's scary. Every place we've lived has been quite different, so it's been a lot. I really hope that this is it for us. We're basically moving to Dade's like childhood neighborhood, so I think that's going to be really good for him, because he remembers like a lot of things are still open from his childhood, and his whole kind of extended family was scattered around there. So like he kind of just has like a familial tie to the area. And I think it's really sweet that his neighborhood is going to become our neighborhood and our home. And I'm also just really excited about living in a city, living in the Northeast Corridor, because I just have realized over time that cities are really where I just thrive mentally and emotionally, and where I feel really stimulated, and where I'm always drawn to go. And I've never lived in a city, really. I lived in the suburbs of Orlando when Dade and I were first together, and that's the closest I've ever been to like having city life. But even so, the suburbs of Orlando are, you know, not quite city living. This time we're going to be closer than we've ever been to kind of like the core of city life, and like big museums and big hospitals and Amtrak and all the things you get from living in a larger city that's also just kind of part of the whole Northeast zone. So it'll be really easy to visit my friends in DC and New York City, which I also love. So there's a lot I'm really excited about. Once this house sells, nobody's going to be going anywhere or doing anything until that happens. We're probably just going to be living on food is as far as I can stretch the food and not having any fun at all. And probably me getting back to like some serious workload. So the next few months are going to be a little crazy. And I just want to update you guys on all of that. I will see you soon with some kind of video. I thank you so much for supporting me and being here for this whole journey. Oh yeah, and I do need to do my 25,000 subscriber question video too. So I guess that will be the next video. At least that one's just kind of a little off the cuff. So that'll actually be good. That'll be a pretty easy one to do. So I guess I'll see you for that next weekend. And yeah, I'll keep you updated. Wish me luck. Thank you so much for being here. And I'll see you soon. Bye.